else either of us had seen in the whole tournament so far. And we get an early opportunity here to see if he can take that into today.
Yeah, Kachi really unleashing on the rack, probably like no other in the tournament, at least the matches I've watched. Oh, the 9 rockets towards the side. Talked to Kachi yesterday, and we talked about a few things, but it seems pool's really on the mind again. You know, he's a guy that does a bunch of things back home, but really wanting to make a statement in the pool world. And again, I think the rules have motivated the players. Rule changes, let's say. Of course, Matchroom, what they're doing with the game, that has a lot to do with it. But we all want to see this guy, his main focus is running tables.
Well, we've wondered at times in the past, what would it be like if Eklent Kaci was really zoned in and completely focused for the entire duration of a full week-long event like this? And on the evidence of what we saw yesterday, this may be the week. He played so well. Viktor Zielinski wasn't struggling by any means. It was very high quality, neck and neck at the start. And then Kaci just took complete control against a very talented young opponent.
Yeah, you would have to say Josh, like over most, is a little favorite on the offensive side of things, but it's a lot slimmer than you think, especially against a guy like Kachi. Very straight shooter with a lot of power. And I think he's really starting to bring the finesse game into play as well. And it's funny, you rolled out here. A lot of times when you roll out, you have a very good notion of what you're going to do if you get it back. And I think, like most people that play filler, you almost have to win the tactical side of things to beat filler. And then, of course, don't make many mistakes with an open table. This is an odd shot here. If he comes off the left side of this trying to play safe, not really a whole lot of room for error. It's not really a clean line for the cue ball as well. Looks like that's what he's doing though. This may work. And a nice opener there from Kachi.
We were talking yesterday about our picks for the title. Carl went with filler at the start and is obviously sticking with him. I've gone for Ocean, actually, who's playing at the moment over on the other table against Badr Alawadi. Just like the way Ocean is playing this week and the sense I'm getting from him about how he's feeling in himself. What about you? Who's your pick as we head into this single elimination stage?
Well, I like to stick with an American SVB, of course. He's got to get a little better on the break. Usually we don't see him struggle on the break like we did in his qualification round yesterday, but I guess it'd be hard not to go with SVB for me. Pretty good shot there. Most would think he was really trying to make that and maybe slide it in, but he was always going to hit it a little thick. That way he could bang the two around the table and take a chance at getting a somewhat containing shot. Nothing easy here. He's got some blockers, but from 9 feet away, if you're rolling your ball, this could certainly easily get away from you. And I'll tell you, I don't know, be beyond an American player, and of course, filler an obvious choice, and why not Ocean, pretty obvious, along with SVB. But the guy I talked to right before I entered the arena this morning, it seems maybe a little light taken off of him, and maybe a little bit of a quiet year, but in a good place. Jason Shaw, I think he's a guy. He loves this break format, which, by the way, I've heard 0 complaints from any player as far as the changes to the rules. And you'll really hear it after a loss in a match, where guys aren't going to say, well, it just wasn't ever to be. most players are getting some opportunities in these matches.
Well, the thing with Shaw, he had a great start to the year. Hasn't quite gone on from there, certainly not in the biggest events. But it almost doesn't matter with him, I feel, what his form is coming into an event. He's someone who can just suddenly click into gear and produce his very best, which is right up there with the best of anyone.
Well, he's consciously worked on his strength, his fitness. You could see that. But, little in his defense, and maybe not to talk too much about the break change, but, he went to a couple events, didn't get to shoot much. And, that has a lot to do with the old break format. And that's what we're trying to escape from.
Just to confirm, it is still race to 9 all day today in these last 64 and last 32 matches. Then goes up to race to 10 tomorrow, when we have the last 16 and the quarter-finals. And then Sunday, it'll be race to 11 in the semi-finals and 13 in the final.
Yeah, it looks like he's got to play a slow roll kick shot. I don't have the vantage point of him, of course, but it looks like he can get by the pink 4 in between the 7-8. Just come to the bottom cushion and back up on the 2, trying to use the 9 as a possible snooker. Really don't see much of any other play. Now, if he elevates the cue, he's coming 2 rails behind the 7 and really trying to create some luck. He's got to dig on that cue ball more than that, it appears. May only catch a very sliver of the 2. Oh, he went straight at it. Nice shot.
I think what we're seeing here is one of the many impacts of the change in the breaking rules. Normally between these two in a match like this, you would have thought after this long there might be 2 or 3 racks completed, and here we are, still on the 2 ball in the opener.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for your regular sports fans, and it's kind of an in-depth conversation, but to make it simple, most fans want to get involved with the choices that athletes make a lot more often, and that's what you're going to see a lot more of here with this new break format. Looks like he's going to play the 2 into the pink 4, try and come some 3 rails behind that ball he's cueing over. Now this is where a lot of players, it may be a little light, trying to use the speed of the bed to get behind the purple 5. And all in all, just as far as that new break change, it's just going to separate, the boys from the men in a sense, I think. I'm not sure which route he's going here. Maybe up softly behind the pink 4, trying to lay the 2 on the side rail. Not a whole lot of choices here. Oh, he's going off the left. So he's going to try and get behind the 7. It looks like he's done a pretty good job. And there's a difference mentally, along with the physical side of things. Now that we see a little more tactical in the game, you battle for the shot like they're doing so here, Michael, and it wouldn't affect these two too much. But then, you finally get a shot, maybe it's a long one. You have to turn on the offensive side of things after playing a lot of mental and touchy shots. Definitely makes the game a lot more diverse. And I think this morning, Joshua Filler may have fluked this. Joshua Filler's parents showed up to the event, met them this morning, so I don't think that's something of a tournament of this size maybe he's used to. Not so sure.
Yeah, I was chatting to him before the match, actually, and I noticed he actually seemed to be, he's always very friendly anyway, but he seemed to be in particularly good mood this morning. So maybe that's something to do with it. He's enjoying the occasion. He's here with his wife as usual. He played against her yesterday.
And I'll tell you, Pia gave Chris Milling a serious run for his money in that loser's qualification yesterday. She's got to be pretty proud of her play. And it's obvious to me maybe the cross-side bank isn't playable. Josh would have probably already went for that shot. I don't think he can come across the right side of the 3 so easily either. Avoiding that point, maybe dropping the cue ball down behind the 7. It's a touchy little shot. Maybe trying to come just slightly behind the pink 4. Tried to play the cross corner bank. A bit of a two-way.
I think Filler more than anyone has to show a bit of discipline when we have this sort of mode of play where it is more tactical, because he just seems to have an insatiable desire to get stuck in among the balls and reel off rack after rack. And why wouldn't he when he's so good at it? But he knows this is part of it as well. He wants to compete at the highest level, which of course he's doing on such a consistent basis this year. He's got to be patient, and I think he's very well able to do that, even though he'd much rather be getting stuck in there, showing us his wonderful flowing rhythm.
Yeah, and you know, you figure the match to get going offensively at some point. These guys will break and get shots, but I think Josh recognizes, you know, that's the one part of the game he wants to improve at, and the more he's in these situations, the better he's going to become. And that's, you know, we'll see where this format goes, and I think if you ask the players, they'd like to keep it, but we'll, again, see how it goes. And I think Josh, all in all, it's going to be a good thing for him. All right, half a pocket here on the 3. So from this distance, hard to shoot at it. Yeah, nothing easy here. You know, if he was very comfortable, he could come across the 3 lightly with a lot of left spin, trying to place the 3 below the 8, maybe go the rail and up on the 9, but that's so delicate from so far away. And it does require some side spin. Yeah, a little fortunate there, but he was in a tough position.
I sometimes think when we're watching Filler at his very best, and he's winning rack after rack, and you just think he's never going to miss a ball. You wonder, how does this guy not win every single tournament he plays in? And at the moment, of course, he's not far off it with the year he's having. But is that the reason for you that that's his downfall, you think? If he can just improve on the tactical side a bit further, that he may find even more consistency and yet more success?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is actually going to make the top players shine even more, or at least let's say who's playing the best pool. So, and I think, you know, all in all, you want to see more pool, and situational pool is definitely a part of the game. And a lot of players, they just want the tactical battle at the beginning with Filler. They kind of want to let Filler know I'm in there. They want to get some time at the table. Maybe stall that rhythm that he gets into for a little bit. I don't think it's going to be denied, that rhythm. At some point, he'll get going.
And so successful this year. Highlights, winning the World Masters, winning the UK Open in London. So much success in all sorts of events so far in 2022. And not only that, when he hasn't been winning tournaments, he's generally been getting pretty close. He's been runner-up on a few occasions as well.
Yeah, not a whole lot here for Kachi. I like just coming off the right side of the 3, coming 2 rails down to somewhat of the middle of the end rail, trying to use the 4 and the 5 as blockers. Just a percentage play. It may not get there, but he's going to bank it back down again. And if the speed's good here, may help. Whew. I wouldn't doubt if Filler tries to cut this in, Michael. Oh, it sounds crazy, but
it is the sort of shot he goes for more than anyone, though, isn't it?
well, if he plays it thick into the rail, he could certainly pocket it off the 7 or the 8 or both. I think that's the shot he's looking at now. It's almost like a little guide into the pocket. If you're willing to aim thick at the 3, play it into the bottom rail, let it bounce up off the 7 and 8. Now the other play is to bank the 3 back down, go to the rail and into those balls, but that's touchy. He could scratch. Playing it pretty light. Nice shot.
Showing so much patience here. Eklent Kaci, 23 years of age, one of Albania's most prominent sportsmen. Became the youngest ever Mosconi Cup player when he made his debut almost 4 years ago now. Was still only 19 at the time.
Yeah, former #1 player in the world at a very young age. His younger brother is quite the cueist as well. I think he's going more the snooker route of things, but
And Kachi technically very strong with the cue action, Jeremy.
oh, absolutely. And his frame doesn't hurt either. There's always been a controversy on, shorter guys versus over the cue stick versus the taller guys, and of course all can work, but in my opinion, a little longer guys that are athletic, especially like Kachi, I think they have a hair of an advantage,
In what sense?
Well, I mean, the longer the arc, you can swing a little easier to get power, right? So stretching, reaching the table, bridging over balls, I think, in my opinion, it's a no-brainer. I'd rather be a little on the taller side than the shorter side. And Josh right in the middle. Oh, a rare miss, and that's kind of what I was talking about. Tactical battle the first 10 minutes of the game. Now you get a shot, and not really even that hard of a shot. You got to kind of switch gears into that offensive mode.
Well, it underlines your point emphatically that even as good a potter as Joshua Filler can end up missing a ball like that by a fairly wide margin. Something you might only see once in a whole tournament.
Didn't leave obviously anything offensive. Still very touchy business. Trying to get a secured snooker from this point. Is he kicking behind this maybe? Trying to drag the cue ball up behind the pink with a high ball. Oh, he hit it too solid. Not what he wanted. May work out. Well, it's giving up a shot.
Over on table 2, Badr Alawadi has just played one of those shots where even long after the ball is stopped, it's so close to the pocket you can't believe it doesn't just topple over. That was on the 7 in the second rack when he had a chance to level at 1-1 with Alban Ocean. And here is Ocean now, attempting to mop up from Alawadi's miss and go 2-0 in front. We just saw in that shot there, as we always say, playing a ball like that, just over the pocket and you're coming in and out of the jaws from distance. You have such limited control over the cue ball.
Yeah, what contact you make on the object ball will determine the path of the cue ball. And, the problem with that is having to put a draw stroke on it. Maybe not quite as accurate as you wanted, but should be okay. These tables will start to tighten up again as the days go on. I don't know if the 7's playable here, Michael. It's attached to the 8 in an awkward kind of way, and I don't know how much angle he has to really try and bust those open. That's what he tried, and now he's gotten himself out of position to play the safety, I think, unless the cross-corner bank is playable.
He had a match the other day that lasted 32 minutes. This rack isn't going to be far short of that.
Yeah, and that's probably with about 10 minutes worth of racking by the referee. So
sure, so in actual playing time, probably about the same. Incredible.
Okay, he's going to have to make a nice shot on the 8 from up top. A little thin. A lot of players want to run the cue ball 4 rails when they're this far away.
Well, if they go the whole 17 racks and they're all as long as this, Jeremy, we're going to be here for about 5 hours. Now, of course, that isn't going to be the case, but that was fascinating stuff. And in the end, it's Joshua Filler who has closed it out nicely, and he leads Eklent Kaci by 1-0. Now, while that was going on, other matches have been making great progress. There are 9 Polish players in the last 64. And 2 all-Polish clashes in this round, one of which sees Karol Skowerski, who's back on form 10 years after that wonderful season he had where he won the World Masters and got to the World Cup of Pool final. 3-0 up on Wojciech Szewczyk. Michael Schneider is leading 3-1 against Seneri Pazar. So those players are the ones who've made the greatest progress so far. Chris Melling is 2-0 up on Radoslav Babica. And Naoki Oi is level at 1-1 with Jonas Suto Camino.
And after that game, look how quickly it switches in game 2 with a nice break off and a good shot on the 2-ball. And of course, Filler, the happiest between the 2 players to win game 1 in that tactical battle. But, you know, this may cost him some games, but I don't think even losing the game that Kachi was that upset the way game 1 went down. If you're playing certain players, of course, you want to get a little time at the table and you want them to feel the battle.
I think they probably both impressed themselves a bit with the level of patience they were both willing to show.
Like I said, overall for our fan base, I think they're going to enjoy being able to make decisions along with these players in those, you know, tactical situations. I feel they're trying to gain that rhythm quickly.
I think one of these days I'm going to ask to see Joshua Filler's birth cert or passport or something, because every time I look at it and see his date of birth, 1997, he's only 24. I still can't quite get my head around it. It feels like he's been playing at this level and winning tournaments for so long. Both of these guys broke through, established themselves on the international stage at a very early age. Well, they're still at a very early age, both of them, even now. Filler, the senior man here, even at only 24.
Yeah, well, I can't remember exactly what year, and I should know better just because I had a pretty decent tournament that year. But the last year, Shane Van Boning won the U.S. Open, 2016 or 17, I believe?
16.
16, okay.
Yeah.
That was my first look at Filler. And many of the Euros said this is going to be the best player in the world here shortly. And they were pretty on point.
Well, you've been around the game a long time, Jeremy. I can't imagine you've ever sat and watched 2 more different racks, one after the other, than what we've just seen. And in 2 very different ways, Joshua Filler has won them both, and he leads Eklent Kaci 2-0. So that gives us a chance to look at some more scores. Sebastian Batkowski, one of that big Polish contingent in this single elimination stage, 2-0 up on Jose Alberto Delgado. Ronald Regley, part of the Swiss team that did so well at the World Cup, 2-1 up on Imran Majid. Michael Schneider, also of Switzerland, streaking away, 4-1 now. He leads Seneri Pazar.
Well, if we're running behind on time, Filler's one of those players that can make it up quickly. Cue ball to the end rail. Does have a pocket for the 2. Pretty natural to get on the 3. I don't know if he has an entire pocket, but it's not a problem that's going to try and slow him down. He's definitely attacking, I would think. Wow, that shows maybe the pocket's smaller than I thought. So maybe he doesn't attack here. Kind of almost have to. Could be kind of free with the 6-7 the way they lay. Did catch the 8 coming in. Little off angle on the 3, so a decision here. May play for the cross side bank, I don't know. I think the 4 does play in the left middle. Just a matter of getting the cue ball in position. Yeah, that's what he's going to look at here. Do I want to slow roll this for position, or do I want to let the stroke out go over to the other side rail and back? I think he lets the stroke out maybe. I don't know. That's the other thing. Maybe he isn't given enough credit. He's really got a deft touch with the cue ball when needed. Of course, us, the top players, they want to stay away from those type of shots, but he can do it.
His good pal, Alban Ocean, is off to an even better start over on table 2. 3-0 now. He leads against Badr Al-Awadi.
Awkward cueing for the lefty. Maybe has to take a little longer bridge to get comfortable. A lot of times when you have to take the longer bridge and it's kind of like down the side of the rail like this, you may stay away from the power side if you have a choice on the shot. You may go more of the roll shot here. Just because it's so very important to stay steady through the stroke. And you can tell it's hard to get steady with the bridging. He's cueing low, so it's either a drag shot or draw over to the side rail and back. Nice shot. Now he'll play the 4 on the side. A little bump on the purple 5, it looks like.
It's like we're seeing 3 very different racks. Obviously the first was very tactical, then the second was pretty straightforward. Fella ended up winning it in very straightforward fashion. And this one has been a bit different in its own way, because again it looks as though Filler is just going to steamroller his way through it, but he's having to figure things out a bit more than perhaps he did in the previous one.
Well, that's just another benefit of our new change to the break rule. You're going to get some layouts with some clusters. You know, one thing we saw for many years that I don't want to use upsetting to me, but you rarely had to see players break balls out when they were running out. They were always open. It became more of a game of efficiency rather than a total package, and I think that's going to change now.
So he's really getting into gear now. 3 quite different racks. Joshua Filler really finding his game and leading 3-0. Now a look at events elsewhere. Naoki Oi has won the 3rd rack against Jonas Suto Camino to lead 2-1. Chris Melling 2-1 up on Radoslav Babica. Mark Bijsterbosch of the Netherlands has just levelled at 2 apiece against Mustafa Alnar. And Sullivan Clark, who's been making quite a name for himself this week, young man from New Zealand, has a 2-1 lead over Davy Pierre Giovanni.
All right, a big cluster on the right side of rail, and it's always difficult to roll out, but whenever your object ball has got many other balls around it, options become slim, and those options aren't usually that great, even the few you have, just because you're not going to roll out offensively, and the safety becomes pretty easy for the incoming player. May roll out to a kick here. Just open the cue ball up on the back rail and make my opponent kick to the back rail to get the snooker. It looks like he's got a piece of the 2, and he may try and play a shot without a rollout here, and I don't know. I think he's got to push out here.
Michael Schneider looks like he's in a hurry to be first man through to the last 32. 5-1 up now against Seneri Pazar.
Well, the only match he lost the first 3 days is a match you could say he should have won against, I believe it was FSR. Was that right?
Yeah, 8-5 in front, lost 9-8.
The rack will be removed here. And again, I don't know if he's given him a little piece of the 2-ball. He has. Not easy to dodge the double kiss, though, so this still should be a kick shot, I think. Yeah, I don't know if you can shoot directly at the 2 here and avoid the double kiss on the cue ball. Kachi won't be fooled in that regard, I don't think. So now he's sizing up. How can he come to the bottom cushion and come away clean? Well, Josh is shooting directly at this, and with the 8 in the way, I don't think he can really apply any side spin accurately, and he could foul applying side spin. So, yeah, I don't think you're going to see a ball first shot here. Not the best angles to kick at, to be honest with you. Yeah, he's not going to like this outcome. And one thing we may see from time to time a bit more that we really might go a year without seeing in the professional ranks is some 3-foul wins at times. It's happened a couple times in this tournament already.
Just explain to us, Jeremy, exactly what the rule is on that.
Yeah, 3 consecutive fouls by the same player is a loss of game. Prevents some stalemate situations when the balls get grouped up and neither player really wants to open the balls or take a chance. Now, if you're on 2 fouls and you make a good hit, those 2 fouls are extinguished, and it's just kind of a start over situation. But here he can feather this, it looks like. I wouldn't want to move the 2 too far, believe it or not. The 8-3 and all that is helping him. I'd like to just barely get a clean hit here. And another reason why that is even if he does get ball in hand, this is a difficult layout. Not terrible, but he may entertain, like I said, a 3-foul situation. Now Josh is going to try and come 2 rails. Probably a little light of medium. Trying to contact the 2 somewhat fully. Place the cue ball between the 4 and 9. That would be the ideal kick shot. I caught it a little too full. Still very good effort, and don't let the new rule fool you, Michael, right? It's still going to be a lot of break and runs, still going to be the offensive side, making long pots. Coming with great shots is what's going to win the tournament. But it's a little more like you got to earn it.
Kachi been out there for about half an hour now, and this is really the first decent chance he's got to try to actually get a rack on the board.
Yeah, pretty natural to go around the 6. And in all sports, we appreciate the fighters, and I think this will also define a little more of who the fighters are in our sport.
And sometimes maybe Kachi hasn't been a fighter in the past. Maybe he's mentally thrown in the towel. He's turned up for matches, not really. Looking like he's got the commitment of the other leading players. But all the signs today and yesterday in that match he played on the main table suggest quite the opposite. For whatever reason, he seems massively dialed in this week.
Well, you know, I dealt with this in my career a few times, and it's easy to forget. Oh, he wanted to pinch the cue ball back there. He didn't want to leave himself over the 8, so a big mistake. Didn't want to overdraw it, of course, but a little bit of a big mistake here early. And sometimes it's easy to forget what you really love, you know, and what you're really truly meant to do. And I think that's the crossroads maybe he's dealing with at an early age. But I love the little conversation I had with him yesterday. I think he's back on point. Oh, great shot there.
Oh, yeah, could not have recovered the situation any better. And that was a really important shot because he's seen Filler play so well and mopping up the last couple of racks. Now he's got a chance of his own. He's got to show that he's able to compete with that level from Filler.
Little kill shot here, thin on the 6, with a lot of right English. And I just love it, just because even Filler, you know, who plays at a pretty nice tempo compared to most, and it seems like the right tempo for him, but I just get a feeling of a lot more work from the players now, and I love it.
You gotta say, it's been hard work for Kachi in this rack. He's applied himself well. He will have known the importance of not letting Filler get any further ahead. He's just the sort of player who can disappear out of sight once he gets into that sort of momentum. But Kachi is registered now. Filler still leads, but it's 3-1. Albin Ocean has already handed out one 9-0 defeat this week to David Borkowski. He may be giving Badr Alawadi a similar beating today because it's 6-0 now in that one. Now we can see some of the scores going through. Wojciech Szewczyk has got one back, so now trails Karol Skowerski, 3-1. Michael Schneider, I told you, going very well against Seneri Pazar, 5-1 in that. Radoslav Babica back on level terms at 2 each against Chris Melling. Still going strong, well into his 40s. And Sullivan Clark, the other end of the age scale, 2-1 up on Davy Pierre Giovanni. Feels like every one of these events we come to now, Jeremy, we're seeing new names coming through and showing potential. Bodes so well for the years ahead.
Yeah, and that's only going to grow and grow, I think. I think, again, like I commented a couple days ago, with if players, there's some players that can still be playing professional pool, and I almost didn't knock them not playing at times because, you know, like we saw Jason Shaw this year, a couple times he went to the tournament, didn't even really get a chance to perform. I wouldn't doubt you see, of course, more events coming from Matchroom, but more players coming out of the woodworks because of some changes and some good ones, I think.
Yeah, and there might be some players who've been part of the scene but not really making much of an impact, but they see now the opportunities the game has, so although they've been around, they haven't perhaps been dedicating themselves to it full time or even nearly full time. So you'll see players in that category as well, guys who have been around but are now more involved and more intense in how they approach it, and as a result will be more prominent. Time of great opportunity if you're a pool player.
Well, that was a pretty calm stroke there and a great sign for Eklent Kaci. Difficult shot there on the 2. And even though maybe it shouldn't be for Kachi, like some others, you know, when the guy in the chair is shooting behind you, a little more pressure involved, it seems.
Not delivered in the very biggest events of late, but he's been having a very consistent year on the Euro Tour, which is a very high standard in itself. Came here straight off the back of getting to the final of the last Euro Tour event in Bulgaria just a few days ago. Was beaten there by Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, who's having such a great year. And in the other 3 Euro Tour events that have been played this year, he was in the final in Italy, lost to Filler, and also had a semi-final on the last 16. Euro Tour isn't quite this scale of event. You have to play very well in those tournaments to put together a season like that. Went out early in the World Championship, beaten in the last 64 by Lo Ho Sum, but he's been beating good players all year as Lo.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing just yet. He may be playing, but definitely did make the final 64. And I'll tell you a guy I'm impressed with here early this morning is Ronald Regley from Switzerland. Played a really rough match in the winner's qualification and then bounced back yesterday and played a great match. And it seems like he's playing another great match against Imran Majid.
And Kachi is bouncing back well here from 3-0 down. He's put together two very good racks, so now just one adrift at 3-2. Yeah, Lo Ho Sum will be playing a little later against Mieszko Fortunski, another player who's really been enhancing his reputation over the last 18 months or so. Regley 4-2 up, that match you were talking about, Jeremy, against Imran Majid. Michael Schneider now leads Seneri Pazar 5-2. And Wojciech Szewczyk has pulled another one back, 3-2 behind against Karol Skawersky. Nick Economopoulos is level at 2-all with Marco Dorenberg. And Chris Melling has now fallen 3-2 behind against Radoslav Babica. Kachi also trailing 3-2 as he breaks in rack 6.
Okay, the 2-ball ended up pinned on the bottom rail. Nothing offensive, it seems, but definitely wants to see it. You always want to be the first shooter at the safety, and from the looks of things, a pretty easy play here, coming up with the 2-ball somewhat behind the 5, cue ball behind the 3 and the 9. And this is where going to look where you really want the cue ball is important. It just kind of helps your speed control. He could bank the 2 away and try and place the cue ball behind the 5. I'm not in love with that as much myself as just, like I said, playing the 2 behind the 5. Let the cue ball come up on the left side rail. Now the one thing, if you want to get aggressive with this one, banking the 2 back down table, you could bring the cue ball 2 rails up on top of the 5. Or excuse me, behind the 5. Oh, he got the 2 in a great position and hard to fault that shot.
The many triumphs of Joshua Filler in 2022, Jeremy, include the World Games, and I believe you were there.
It sure was, and he escaped an early match where Tyler Starr played a great set. Just a couple things got away from him at the end, and like most greats, after escaping a match, he just went on and played phenomenally, taking down the gold in Birmingham.
What would you say, as we see Kachi get another opportunity here, about the whole experience of being at the World Games? What was the whole feel and vibe of the event from a pool point of view?
Oh, it was great. I mean, you know, always like any event, there are a few things that you'd like to have seen different or maybe a little bit better, but overall, it was really quality. And I'll tell you, the most quality of it is the matches themselves. A lot of close matches, both with the ladies and the men. The snooker was fun to watch. The 3 cushion was incredible.
Yeah, the World Games essentially is for sports that are recognized at an Olympic level but aren't actually part of the Olympic Games yet.
Right, and actually the Olympic Committee pretty much runs it as a whole. We're very, very involved, and you know, the fans in that part of the country, and some came from further away, but showed a lot of support. Watch out, he kind of let up on the stroke a little bit there, and that's why you didn't see the check on the cue ball coming back closer to the 4. You see him a little shake of the arm there. sure why pool hasn't made the Olympics yet, or more cue sports of some sort, but so international, it seems like a no-brainer to me.
Well, effectively, the IOC said that all cue sports would have to compete, for want of a better word, for the right to get into the Olympics collectively. So there's been a single umbrella organisation for all cue sports put together. But I think that has maybe run into its own internal political problems, which hasn't helped. I know snooker has been trying to get into the Olympics for about a quarter of a century now. So I think cue sports, if they ever do get into the Olympics, will be admitted collectively. So all of those sports would feature.
Well, and that's good with me. And I mean, really, I guess it would be hard to say definitively which one is the most international, but they all are. I think pool probably has overtaken snooker and three cushion around the world as far as the most international game in cue sports. But
yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're measuring in terms of the number of countries who produce top players, pool is miles ahead of snooker. And I'll say one thing as well. I mean, what an opportunity the Olympics would be for someone like Eklent Kaci, because Albania, as far as I know, has never won an Olympic medal of any colour.
Right.
So what a huge thing that would be for him if he was to become the first ever Olympic medalist, or maybe even the first ever gold medalist from his country.
Well, I think without seeing the future or having a crystal ball, I think the support, if it did make it, you would feel the room. You know, like the next World Games, I think, is in China. You know, and I kind of expect probably 2,000 to 3,000 people there to watch, you know, that part of the World Games.
Oh, out there they go and watch 2,000 or 3,000 people, you know, turning up to watch practice sessions of cue sports. They're just mad for it in China. Now Albin Ocean is absolutely flying here, and possibly on course for his second 9-0 win of the week, although Badr Al-Awadi is at the table now. But 7-0 down to the multiple world champion from Austria.
Yeah, and I don't know, you know, of course I know Badr, but I don't know him super well. And yesterday he struggled in an early match, you know, morning-ish match, right? And then went on to play some really good pool later on in the day, so maybe not the best morning player, and a big mistake here in rack number 7, a scratch on the break cross side. And even here with the balls open, right? Still got to work a lot. Got to get nicely on the 2. Shouldn't be a problem with ball in hand. He's got to get back for the 3. And the 4 to the 5. Just going to see a lot more pool. I may have overdrawn this a little bit. I may have gotten actually about perfect. Probably a better play, knowing can't go wrong with the corner. Could get a little funny if you lay up for the side.
Well, it is still morning here in Fulda, and this is the sort of situation Joshua Fuller normally eats for breakfast. All the balls out in the middle of the table.
Interested to see if he comes around the 7 or just comes one rail above. Yeah, keep it simple, and that's a big part of his success. Is never really too out of line. Most things make very good sense.
So he led 3-0, got pegged back to level terms. But Joshua Fuller is going to go in front again. What an entertaining match this has been so far, and Fuller leads it 4-3. So let's take another look at what's going on around the tables. One match we haven't mentioned much. Very close one. Mateusz Sniagotsky leading Abdullah Al Yusuf, World Championship semi-finalist this year, 4-3. So that's one to keep an eye on. Jonas Suto Camino going well against Noyuki Oi, now leading 5-2 in that one. And Alban Ocean will not be handing out another 9-0 because he's lost a rack to Badr Alawadi. He had a shot at the 9 actually, but missed it and looked disgusted with himself, even at 7-0 up as he was at that time. So Alawadi avoids the whitewash, but Ocean still surely on course for a place in the next round, you would think, leading 7-1.
Yeah, not an easy shot on the 2, but a shot you feel like Josh is a pretty big favorite to make. I'm wondering how he's going to play the cue ball, because naturally it looks like coming across for the 3-9. I know it's a little off angle and not something players usually want to play for, but either that or he's got to maybe cue downward on this and play from the backside the 3 if he just wants to make, you know, an easy clearance of this table. Yeah, it looks like, I don't know, is he stunning across for the 3, maybe in the side? Oh, he's overcut this. He's overcut this, and that's, again, just little differences here and there. Makes a huge impact on the game, and a little fortunate with the cue ball, but I think you'll see the Kachi attack here. He could play a mild shot on the 2, playing it to the side rail and up on the top rail, trying to use the purple 5 as a 1-ball snooker, but another miss from, well, I say another, there's only been 2, but a miss we don't expect from Josh.
Or sometimes you see him play matches and he literally doesn't miss a single ball in the whole match. Everything he goes for, he gets.
Well, you could ask, and I'm sure he would tell you the truth, that I'm sure he's gone tournaments, maybe not 6-day tournaments without missing, but I'm sure he's gone a few of those Euro tours with, maybe you could count the misses on your thumbs.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't find that hard to believe at all.
Big shot in this match, though. Needs the ball to travel a little bit. It should be clear now, and we should be at 4-4 shortly.
Kachi's played a few shots like that in this match very well, where there's difficulty both in terms of the pot and position, and he's managed to pull it off.
Well, first time I saw him, I thought he was as straight a shooter as I'd seen in some time. Of course, Filler, one of those guys, and you'd say Jason Shaw, one of those guys, right? But very straight delivery through the ball. The part I liked is I think he did lack a little finesse in his game at times when he, really hit the scene, but made some conscious efforts to work on that. And I think his first Mosconi Cup, where he did struggle, and he'll tell you in 2018, it was the finesse shots that got him out there, especially when nerves were high. And so he went back, addressed that, had a very good, I thought, 2019 campaign, even though Europe lost, and then went on to play well ever since. I'm surprised he went 3 rails there. The 5 in the side is an easy play, and lucky he didn't get on top of that 5 where it's not playable.
By the time he made that Mosconi debut you're talking about in London in 2018, he'd already accomplished quite a bit. Won a big event in New York. The year before that, at only 18. And that same year, he almost won the US Open. Beat Francisco Sanchez Ruiz in the semi-finals. That put him in the final against Jason Shaw, but he just fell a long way behind early on and recovered a little bit, but was never really likely to win it after that.
Yeah, got a little straight here, and this is not so much of a concern for the 6 and the 7, but getting on the 8, that's the issue. And Jason Shaw kind of built himself up for that win that year in the U.S. Open. Had gotten so close a few times. Just once he had gotten back there again, wasn't to be denied. And this is going to be a little tricky. Be one thing if the 9 wasn't so close to the 8 here, but so now he's got to play position either with enough angle to go up and down the table or get in between the 8 and 9 somewhat to be able to kill the cue ball. Not the type of shot you would see many players go forward here. Most would probably try to cheat the pocket a little bit with a draw stroke. Maybe coming back on top of the 8 a little bit, but that's okay. Just is what it is. And that's what I was talking about, on top of the 8, and that's just part of the percentage. And that happened. That started with this play on the 4 ball, getting out of line on the 5. Had to turn the cue ball loose and created a problem. Now
sorry, Jeremy was just going to say no problem though for Alban Ocean over on the other table. He's very swiftly on the hill. 8-1 now, he leads Badr Alawadi.
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, if you're early in the rack, you shave this ball, you go to the end rail. But now with the 9 near the 8, you could give up a bit of a two-way shot. Maybe a kiss shot on the 9 for filler while trying to bank the 8. Okay, needs that cue ball to get back over and rest on the rail. Filler's going to go for the kiss shot here, I believe. Now, the other play is he could play off our right side of the 8, playing the 8 into the rail where the 9 contains the 8 on the bottom rail and the cue ball runs back up table. A lot of players would play that shot. I think that's what he's looking at now. And the good thing for him, he's sitting in a position, really, he doesn't have to attack it with much speed. Just play a pretty thin hit on the 8. He's got a little at the bottom of the cue ball. Trying to size it up as he's down on the ball. And besides banking the 8 back to the top rail and just leaving an open cue ball here, not a whole lot of options safety-wise. So I wouldn't doubt if the big straight shooter from Albania goes for this. Not easy to come off his right side of the 8 and get behind the 9 with control, especially from this distance. Like I said, if you're going to go safety here, you probably just bank the 8 to the middle of the top rail and take your chances. Long rail bank, maybe? Loop the 9, maybe? Nope.
He probably echoed the thoughts that were running through his own head as the 8 ball was running around the table. He was just hoping for something to happen, because he knew if it didn't, he was likely to leave a good chance for filler, and the opportunity is now there for the German to go 2 clear.
I know it was thin, and I know he was a long ways away from it, but I'm surprised he didn't really entertain the cut shot. Because a lot of times from that angle, you're not going to hang the ball. It's going to get away from the pocket, the cue ball back down table. So
well, we've had a lot of contenders for best match of the tournament. And this is evolving into another one. A really fascinating contest here. Kachi had his chances there to level up once again at 4 each. Instead, it's Filler who goes 2 in front at 5-3. And just as I say that, Alban Ocean has become the first man through to the last 32. He's cruised past Badr Alawadi by 9 racks to 1. He's played 44 racks in the tournament now and has only lost 8 of them. We can see some other scores there. Mark Bijsterbosch of the Netherlands not far away from going through, 7-3 up on Mustafa Alnar. Ronald Regley now leading 6-2 against Imran Majid. Michael Schneider has made it to 6-2 as well against Senarip Azar.
Oh, an unforced error, scratching cross side, and a little reprieve after giving away the last game. And I hate to say that, sounds harsh, but making a mistake in the last game and losing it for Kachi. It's a chance to get back on the board, maybe break the balls, put something together. I think it's going to happen in this event. We're going to see a hill-hill match where a golden break wins it for some player. I think it's going to happen. See the 9 move around a lot more with the firm cut break, which I think is exciting myself. And not only making the 9, but putting the 9 in different positions on the table for later in the rack. You know, with the head-on break, the 9's usually around the spot. Very similar shots to end most games.
Joshua Filler knows he's in a contest here, but I'm sure he's very pleased with how he's played. When he's had the opportunities, he's run out racks. As we've seen at times, when he's had to get stuck in on the tactical side, he's proved adept in that department as well. So all round, a good performance. He has missed a couple of balls along the way. You wouldn't normally expect him to.
Yeah, that first game, the 3 ball he missed, I think, really did. Neither player an offensive shot, probably 6 or 7 exchanges tactically, and it's going to happen to everyone. And the 2 ball he had where he missed up in the corner after the break, it's a little awkward with the cue ball the way he had to play it with the tip position. Maybe a little too much concern with the cue ball caused that miss, maybe.
Well, this rack has typified so much about the game at this level. Filler's break went wrong. And it looks as though it's going to be end of story, and Kachi is going to mop up from there. He's doing a great job of sticking with Filler.
Little stretch for the big guy, not a problem.
Back to only 1 behind at 5-4. I told you Alban Ocean was the first man through. A couple of others getting pretty close to joining him now. Ronald Regley 7-2 up on Imran Majid. Mark Bijsterbosch leading 7-3 over Mustafa Alnar. Radoslav Babica, one of 9 Polish players to reach this stage, leads Chris Melling 5-3. Sullivan Clark, one of the emerging names of this tournament, 3-2 down against Davy Pierre Giovanni. 5-all between Noyuki Oi and Jonas Suto Camino. That one has swung one way and the other. Mateusz Sniagoczki is 6-4 up on Abdullah Al-Yusuf, and Michael Schneider leads 6-2 over Senarip Azar. 4-all in the all-Polish clash between Wojciech Szewczyk and Karol Skawersky.
Yeah, and I think a name that you... I'm not sure what's going on with Kachi, making sure everything is okay to break the balls, maybe. I'm not sure, but...
Yeah, I think it was something to do with the referee, Desislava Bojalova, and where she was standing at the back of the arena. But all resolved now. 5-4 down.
Yeah, name you mentioned right there is maybe a prime example of the difference in what's going on now with the new break change. And looks like a 1-4 combination is dressed up here for Kachi. So an easy one to get started, and that's Babica. You know, my opinion is he probably doesn't quite have the offensive game to keep up with these guys if it becomes something of a break and run contest. But now that it's a little more grinding, a little more, of course, tactical, we use that word a lot, but just a little more fight involved, no surprise he makes the final 64 here and playing well. Because it is a little disheartening. I mean, the players are probably pretty honest with themselves. I was the same, even though, I mean, I had a pretty good offensive game, but hard to keep up with some of these guys. But when some other shots are brought back into the game, it does change things.
Let's not have you referring to your game in the past tense, Jeremy. I know you're planning to get the cue out again for the US Open in Atlantic City in October. We all look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, and I'll be prepared as, you know, maybe not like a heyday or anything, but I'm definitely going to put in a lot of time practicing. And to be fair also, I like the way things look as far as what I feel like, you know, my game is suited for. Okay, a little awkward here. Doesn't want to get too thin on the 5, but does he come 1 rail up? Does he come 2 rails around the 7? Oh, he got a lot out of that. It should be in a good position here to tie again, our match again.
There are some matches where once you get a bit into them, you think, look, let's just start the deciding rack now, because it feels as though it's got that written all over it. Doesn't always work out that way, but it sure has that feel about it at the moment. Eklent Kaci was 3-0 down. He leveled again at 3-all. And having fallen 2 behind at 5-3, he's leveled once again. Excellent rack there from Kachi. It's now 5-all.
Yeah, I feel the same, Michael, and you can almost depend on these two to give us that if they both get the opportunity to do so. Seems like they're both in a good spot with their game.
It almost feels like we've had a deciding rack already. That first rack actually felt like a decider. Such was the tension around it. But we've seen a bit of everything in this match. What more may lie ahead in the potential 7 remaining racks? Ronald Regley on the hill now at 8-2 against Imran Majid. Majid got through on the winner's side, but looks like he's going to go no further.
Yeah, and from the pace of that scoreline, looks to me that Ronald may not be giving Imran much time at the table. Oh, the 2 hung with the 1 in the side, so Kachi with his real first chance to take a lead.
Yeah, never been in front in this match.
Okay, of course, you want to get on the 3 properly for the 4. But with a lot of traffic out there and a 2-ball that's hanging deep in the corner pocket, boy, I'd hate to make a mistake and get snookered on this 3-ball thinking about the 4. So he's got a few options. The 3, you know, offers some different angles. I would like to get as simply and quickly shape on the 3 as I can. I think that may just be drawing the cue ball straight in between the 6 and the 8, kind of where he stands now to the side rail. He could slide up the table, but I mean, that's dangerous with the 4, 5, and 7 there. Oh, he drew between the 4 and 8. That was nice. I did like that, though, versus going up the left side rail. I think that was putting a lot of pressure on yourself to get the correct speed. And now still a little touchy here. He's kind of smoothed this into position between the 5 and the 8. If he overhits this a little, this could drift towards the 5. Just like that. And that's the thing. If you're going against the grain, you have to trust the bed of the table to get you there, not the side spin checking with a little effort at impact. And a crucial mistake here, of course. All of them are crucial, but Kachi is putting up a heck of a fight, trailed the entire match, and hate to see it, but I kind of felt it.
These two have been in the Mosconi Cup trenches together on a number of occasions, of course, as teammates for Europe. They've only played doubles together in it on one occasion. It didn't go particularly well. They lost 5-1 to Shane Van Bonen and Skylar Woodward in the defeat at Mandalay Bay in 2019. So perhaps not surprising that that pairing hasn't been revived since.
Well, I'm not sure if he can get between the 5 and 8 to the bottom rail. That's the kick shot I like. I mean, you're not going to play a soft kick shot here, some type of safety. It just doesn't lay that way. You're probably going to try and create some luck with some speed, maybe fluke it in. The cross side scratch kick he looked at offers a lot of scratches, so I don't know which way he's going at this. 2 rails or 1? Oh, he's going. This is very difficult. He's having to check the cue ball with a hair of right. Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, and a big premium on it as well. He knew he was giving up ball in hand in a very promising position if it didn't work out. Close matches like this, I often feel it's a key factor. The player trying to come from behind, as Kachi has been for most of the match, can get in front at some point. And if the guy who's been generally leading through it can stop him doing that, that can often be a decisive factor. Ronald Regley is through. 9-2 win over Imran Majid. Will now play Valerie Kuluyants or Moritz Neuhausen.
Oh, Josh, not so clean there. Caught a little rub on the 7, now queuing over the 9 a little bit. Shouldn't be a problem for the straight shooter, but still, though, a little less comfortable than it should have been. Kachi's a fighter. He won't give up after that mistake, but when you are fighting and you get that opening, it seems like things could turn your way if you capitalize, and quite the opposite if you don't. A little awkward here, over the ball a little bit. Does he want to wrap the corner? I'd like to just roll this and roll into position. Yeah, I like that. You may overrun the ball a little bit, but nothing's going to get too bad, it seems. This has gotten a hair awkward. Can he go 3 rails, hit before the side pocket, get to the top rail? Maybe like a middle right English here. Doesn't like to slow roll him too often. Rather work the ball than slow roll him like that.
And someone cheering him on in the background, pleased to see that. And this is filler all over, because this hasn't been straightforward. He ran into a little bit of difficulty a couple of times in that, but he just always backs himself. He has just got so much belief. And what he's also got is the lead once again at 6-5. Mark Bijsterbosch is the third man through to the next round. He's beaten Mustafa Alnar of Turkey 9-4, and the Dutchman will now play either Sebastian Bakovsky or Jose Alberto Delgado, and it's Delgado leading 6-4 at the moment. Incidentally, Albin Ocean, I was telling you, he went through earlier with a 9-1 win over Badr Alawadi. He could play his good pal and fellow Austrian Max Lechner in the next round. Lechner yet to start against Alexa Pejcelj. Here's what's going on over on table 2. Oliver Szolnoki of Hungary. He's done very well at the World Championship in both of the last 2 years, playing Khalid Al-Ghamdi, who beat Skylar Woodward the other day, of course. So they're in the opening rack. And remember, all the Table 1 action available on the Matchroom Pool Facebook page. Table 2, which is on your screens at the moment, is all there on the Matchroom Pool YouTube channel, and it's all available on matchroom.live.
Yeah, a couple of youngsters here, of course. Khalid a bit younger and not quite the accomplishments of Oliver, and hard for many to have those accomplishments at a young age, but man, this guy, ever since I saw him first at the US Open last year, made a little bit of noise there, right?
Al-Ghamdi, yeah, I think he won 3 matches.
Yeah, and he's definitely improved his game and made more noise here at the European Open.
Just to update you on that old Polish clash we've been keeping an eye on, Wojciech Szewczyk has really turned things around after a disappointing start against Karol Skawersky. In fact, he now leads 6-4. Marco Dorenberg is 5-2 up on Nick Economopoulos, and a real battle going on between Jonas Suto Camino and Noyuki Oi. You see some of the scores on the screen there. And Jonas Suto Camino leading that one 7-6. Michael Schneider 7-3 in front against Seneri Bazar. Mateusz Sniagotsky looking for a couple more. 7-4 in front against Abdullah Al-Yusuf, who reached the semi-finals of the World Championship this year. And Radoslav Babica, who you were talking up a few minutes ago, JJ, now leads Chris Melling 6-4. Slow going between Davy Piergiovanni and Sullivan Clark. The Italian is leading, but only 4-3. Incidentally, we were talking about that All-American clash between Oscar Dominguez and Tyler Steyer coming up on the main table later. The winner of that will play the winner of this in the next round. Another one to look forward to.
Yeah, I was looking at that at breakfast this morning, and you got to beat them all at some time or another, Michael, so why not early, right?
I saw you were looking at something at breakfast. I assumed it was your golf bets.
Well, maybe a touch of that, but
keeping an eye on the whole sporting landscape.
That's right. Baseball season, so I read about baseball pretty much every day, my Houston Astros.
So how are they going this year?
I think they're third best record in the ML in the majors. With the Dodgers, I think, with the best record. The Mets, not the Yankees. The Mets right there in the second place, and then the Yankees and the Astros are very close.
It all finishes up around about October time as World Series usually, isn't it? Yeah,
the playoffs start the beginning of October and then end, just depending on how the series go, but usually right towards the end. That's another thing I love about baseball compared to some of the others. Some of those playoffs last 2 months, it seems like, before you get them done.
6-5 to Filler.
Ooh, it looks like maybe a dry break. 4-ball? No. So Kachi gets a chance to make up for that mistake, and you have to take advantage.
This is what I've loved about this match. There just seems to be an endless succession of twists to it. Now it's the dry break. And now the question falls, can Kachi capitalise on a pretty good opportunity, you have to say?
Yeah. He's not like super thin. We'll see if he wants to roll this in, come across for the 2 in the side. If he cues downward, this kind of shot can get away from you every now and again. Yeah, trying to hit it with a subtle draw stroke, not to get too far away from the 2. Actually can be a missable ball every now and again at the, cueing it this way. Nice touch from the big man.
Got to ask you briefly, Jeremy, excuse my ignorance, but would they ever have won the World Series, Astros?
2017.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, very recent.
Yeah, controversial World Series, of course, but I'll tell you an interesting fact about that. If you look at, I think it was the June 2014 Sports Illustrated issue, they actually predict, it has George Springer on the cover, and they actually predict the Astros because of the way they were building their team. They predict them to win the 2017 World Series. And I don't know how they did this, but George Springer was the MVP. A little bit like, I think it was Back to the Future in '86 predicted the Cubs would win the 2016 World Series after 100 years of not winning one.
That was the second movie, I think, was it? The second Back to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Future
yeah,
with the
yeah.
sports
It might have
almanac
been the
in it.
second one, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, from baseball, back to pool. And it's Eklent Kaci's innings at the moment.
But yeah, they've actually been to 2 more World Series since, losing in 7 games to the Nationals.
Was that the first time they'd won it? 17.
Yes, it was.
Oh,
yeah.
wow, that must have been incredible.
First time they'd been there, actually.
Right.
So, to the World Series.
And that's your lifelong team, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, used to go to many games. Got many signatures as a little leaguer. Nolan Ryan and J.R. Richards, all the greats, Mike Scott. Okay. You can see a little frustration in the background from Filler on the dry break.
You know, it's funny, sometimes when you see Filler in full flow, you're tempted to describe him as a robot because it looks like he's never going to miss. But you could never use that terminology about him because he shows so much emotion, as we're seeing there again.
Yeah, I'd commented yesterday that I really appreciate the guy. I mean, as a sportsman, he wants your best game. He wants the competition. I mean, of course, he makes it look like robbery is in effect most of the time, but he wants to beat the best players when he's winning these titles, and he wants the toughest conditions. And he's getting all of that here at the European Open. All right, funny little shot here. I like to go with the flow here. Instead of killing this with inside, I might go 2 rails to the right side of the 8. Our right side as viewers. I think it's a little more missable ball with the right English as well. He came straight down, and his vantage point was much better than mine. He made that look easy. Must not have been as much angle on that 7 as appeared. And another tied ball game here. You got to love it.
It was 3-all. It was 5-all. Now it's 6-all. Eklent Kaci showing maximum commitment and application here. He's going toe-to-toe with Joshua Filler, arguably the form player of 2022. What a finish we're in for. Let's look at some other matches then. Over on table 2, Khaled Al Ghamdi of Saudi Arabia, 2-0 in front against Hungary's Oliver Szolnoki. Wojciech Szewczyk, 2 away from victory now, 7-4 in front against Karol Skawerski. Jonas Suto Camino on the hill against Naoyuki Yoi at 8-6. Michael Schneider on the hill as well, leading Seneri Bazar 8-3. Mateusz Niagotsky, 8-4 in front against Abdullah Al Yusuf. The world semi-finalist could be on the way out there. No telling who's going to be knocked out in this one because it's neck and neck at 6-all. Kachi having levelled again with that wonderful break as he looks to bring it one more time in rack 13.
Now these guys have threatened each scratch cross-side once and threatened it a couple times as well. So watch the cue ball. Pretty nice. He's going to get a shot here. Doesn't matter if the 3 passes the 5. He's got a lot of angle on the 2, so hard to kill the cue ball. And think the 3 does have. Ooh, that's a good camera view. It doesn't go by. Now what he'll do here is apply a lot of right English. Try and kill the cue ball straight off the bottom rail up to the right side rail for the 3 in the same pocket as the 2. Touchy shot, and of course does require light speed. And maybe, yeah, he needs a little bit of right spin, I believe. Easy shot to overcut, believe it or not.
That couldn't have turned out much better. And is he finally going to lead?
Well, with the 3, 4, and 5 grouped together, you would think getting position on the 6 backup table shouldn't be much of a problem. Very clear open middle of the table once these balls are gone. So that always leaves you a lot of options, and I like his chances, Michael.
I know you weren't at the Premier League in Milton Keynes earlier in the year. I'm sure you've heard about what happened there with Kachi. He was just all over the place throughout the tournament, turning up late, conceding prematurely, and at times looking completely disengaged and disconnected from the whole thing. There were a few flashes of form, but overall it was a dismal week for him, and he finished last in a field of 16. You would never have imagined then that we'd see him at an event like this, showing so much determination and giving everything to it as he tries to keep up with Joshua Filler, and maybe now, for the first time in the match, overtake him.
Yeah, another decision here. Do I work the rock, or do I just simply play the 7 in the side? I like the 7 in the side because the 8, 9 are so easy overall. And yeah, I think he might remember that little bit of a mistake. I believe it was the 9th rack. He's worked the rock again. This is okay, though. And yeah, he had plenty of angle. And I think that just gets back to the personal thing. Of course, I wasn't there for the Premier League, but, you know, just deciding again what you really want to do, what really makes you happy. And I think pool's where it's at for Kachi. You know, you're around the athletes so much that I think you'd be one of the guys that recognize things that maybe, you know, a sports fan doesn't. You know, it's hard being an athlete traveling. It's very easy to lose interest, especially when you have other interests like Kachi does, and sorting out, you know, what's important.
What he's done here is win 7 of the last 10 racks from 3-0 down. Eklent Kaci has hung in and hung in. He's had chances before in this match to go in front, but he's finally done it. He now leads 7-6 and is just 2 away from a massive result here. Now, lots of winners to tell you about. Yona Suto Kamino has closed it out at 9-6 against Noyuki Oi, so the man from Japan is going home. And Suto Kamino will now go through to play Michael Schneider. Seneri Pazar started his week by beating the hometown favourite Torsten Homan. He's finished it with defeat to Schneider by 9 racks to 3. Mateusz Niagotsky is through as well. A 9-4 win over this year's World Championship semi-finalist Abdullah Al-Yusuf. I'm not sure we'd confirmed that Ronald Regley has closed it out at 9-2 against Imran Majid. Mark Beisterbosch also through. Alban Ocean was the first man through about half an hour ago now.
Well, maybe a dry break here to turn things back around. Is the 3 going to cover up the cue ball? It does somewhat. I don't know if that's going to slow Josh down or not. This is a funny situation. Will he jump at this to play the safety maybe? Difficult rollout. The 6-8 tied up, the 4-7 a little covered up. Not too bad with the 4-7 with the 3 near. I'll tell you, he may have the top little piece of the 1, but nothing really too appetizing. as a play from there. That's why I say, does he pull out the jump cue right here and try and play a safety? Looks like he's entertaining a rollout.
So where would you be rolling out to here, Jeremy?
Well, if you go offensive, which I think you almost have to, because the safety, you can't leave him an easy safety. Any time there's balls around the ball you have to roll out for, the safety's too easy. So long and straight on the one, maybe, to where position on the two is, I wouldn't say next to impossible, but very, very difficult. Now, Kachi, who is a little better tactically than sometimes people get credit, does he play the, don't know if he has much angle on the one to be able to get to the two, but does he play the one into the top rail, let it bank up near the three, let the cue ball come across, use the 4-7 as a safety? I think maybe that's what Josh is thinking if the offensive play isn't there. And he got it passed back, so Josh not much taking much time here. Is he playing off the left side of the one? He's cueing a little left English, so he's either going offensive or off the left side of the one. I don't know which. You know, a little light there.
Radoslav Babica may well be the next man through. On the hill now at 8-5 against Chris Melling.
You know, in situations like this, you have to recognize, of course, who you're playing. That has a little bit to do with it. But you can't let that bother you to the point to where you think you have to play this, you know, incredible safety that really doesn't offer much at all. That's when things get away from you. So I think he's putting the one by the three, cue ball up on the left side rail. Just percentage play here. Very standard shot in that position. Now probably a very soft kick at the one. On the Matchroom YouTube channel, Oliver Zolnoki trying to get on the board there in game number 3.
Yeah, 2-0 down to Khaled Al-Ghamdi.
Oh, that's going to slide maybe. Ah, what a hit. What a shot.
We're just seeing the full range of shots and the full array of skills involved in the game from both players in this wonderful contest.
Yeah, and it's good to know they got it because, you know, we can go what seems like tournaments without seeing a lot of this pool, but that has all changed, and as a fan and a player, I love it.
You think back to the Mosconi when you had to step in at the last minute to play. The rack everyone talked about at the end of that tournament was that epic battle that you had with Al-Kaci.
Right.
They're the racks people remember.
Yeah, the exchanges. You know, it's a two-person sport, right? So you want to see both players get that time at the table and see what they have. And just as I mentioned, Zolnoki trying to get on the board. Big miss on a pretty easy shot on the 7. So a young man from Saudi Arabia trying to extend his lead. Probably a firm-ish kick here. I wouldn't say really firm, but oh, he played the light one. Trying to just get the one to the back rail.
Over on 2. Al-Ghamdi has potted that 7. Still a little work to do here.
And you called it right. Ended up way short on the 9 there on table 2.
So what does he do now?
Well, hard to play safe on the 9 very often, but a cross corner bank, it's not too bad. Probably draw the cue ball to the top rail. If you miss it, at least make Oliver come with a long shot, most likely. Okay. The 5 in the side for Josh is really kind of prime position for a ball to get to the backside of the 6, maybe create that tied up 6 and 8 situation. So I want to draw back behind the 5 a little bit. I'm not sure. I thought he would try to gain a little more angle there on the 5 ball. And does the 6 pass the 8 in the lower left? I don't think it goes in the lower right at all. So there's a little bit of speed control. Oh, he caught the 9.
Caladal Gamdy, you will have seen there, is now 3-0 up on Oliver Sholnocki. Another young player who's made a real name for himself this week, Sullivan Clark, from all the way on the other side of the world in New Zealand, now leading 6-4 against Davy Pierre Giovanni.
Looks like he's going for the bank. He's made them both.
Just underlines what I was saying. We are seeing a little bit of everything here, aren't we? Every sort of shot. Not seen a golden break yet. I wonder is that still to come in this contest?
Oh, in this match. I mean, yeah, that's right, yeah. Like I said, I wouldn't doubt it's going to happen hill for a big match in the remainder of our event. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I don't know if this is going to get there, Michael. And this is going to be awkward cueing for the lefty. If you're righty, no problem. Now, Josh is young and very limber.
Well, for the first time in the match, he found himself chasing, and he's delivered. A wonderful pot on the 9, and some classic filler emotion as he draws level. It's 7-all. What a contest. Just look how fired up he is, Jeremy. Great to see.
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, I mean, it's nice to win 9-0, 9-1, 9-2, but Filler, I think he really wants these contests. He wants the pressure to build. That's what true champions, that's why you play the game. And the stands filling up more and more as this event goes, as we expected.
3 to play.
Filler's going to get a shot at the 1, a good shot at the 1. A lot of congestion on the right side of the table. So he's got some work ahead of him, even though the starter is not too bad. Now the 2 plays, multiple pockets. And the good thing for Josh is the real problem in the rack, he's not going to be happy with this. May have to come some 3 cushions in between some traffic. The good thing is he's off the rail and the angle's fairly natural. But what I was going to get at is the problem in the rack is the 7. But the good thing for Josh is the ball before the 7 is the 4, which is near the 7. Should make things a little easier.
Be of interest to you, Jeremy, just briefly to mention Shane Van Boning now knows if he beats Sebastian Stab later, he'll be playing Wojciech Szewczyk after his 9-4 win over Karol Skawersky. Really turned it round, Szewczyk, having been 3-0 down. Filler looks as though he's turned it round here. He was just 1 behind at 7-6, the first time he trailed in the match. But he's put together 2 very good racks here. Ooh,
oh
did I put the hex on him?
Oh my, I don't understand the let up there. I mean, he had good 3 or 4 feet to go above the 9. Watch out for the cue ball. Not too concerned with the miss. I know that sounds crazy, but it's just Josh Filler. I just don't expect him to miss. But the cue ball now, that's the one that would be some concern to me. Oh, my.
Oh, you called it. You called it for the second rack in a row. He left himself a tricky 9. He was able to deliver in the previous rack. But there, well, this is a nightmare moment for him.
Yeah, in top sports, the big mistake in pressure moments is the let up on the swing, and we saw it there on the 8-ball from Josh.
So uncharacteristic, and Eklent Kaci really handed a gift there. Looked as though he was going 8-7 down. Instead, in a somewhat anticlimactic finish to that rack, he's first to the hill. But you just feel there's still going to be more drama to come, Jeremy.
Yeah, I agree, and we never want to see anything like that from happen to any player, but a little reminder that even though he fools you fools all of us with it, Josh Filler's human as well.
I first watched 9-ball pool 35 years ago. In all that time, I cannot think of a contest I've watched more enjoyable, more eventful than this one.
Well, that's saying something, and it's been a great one. We'll see if Kachi gets a chance to close. Okay, usually when a mistake like that is made, the incoming player does get an opportunity, and here it is.
And just to back up what I'm saying there, I think that's a reflection and an endorsement of these new break rules. Because we've seen so many wonderful performances over the years, just run out after run out, and they've been great to watch in their own way. But so much has happened in this. Imagine how many words it would take to write a comprehensive report of everything that's gone on here.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when you do see the run out, I mean, of course, that's beautiful to see, and that's the other thing about it. We're still going to get that. We're just going to get it from more difficult situations, more difficult moments, and I don't know. The thing I see is just the fight between the two players that I don't see when it's just more of a run-out contest. It's just a matter of who just basically got one extra shot to really win the match. A lot more being earned, it seems. Here for Kachi, very hard not to go offensive. You know, even if you had to turn it loose a little bit with the cue ball, which he will if he does go offensive. Don't think he can slow roll this thin cut that much and hold the ball for the 3. And not only that's a very nervy way to shoot it. I might just let it go here. Top English, come 3 rails at the 3-9. Maybe 4 rails, depending on how you want to play it. You have to put the emphasis on pocketing this 2-ball.
Joshua Filler came here in search of an inaugural double this year. He won the first ever UK Open in London in May. Would have meant even more to him to win the first European Open in his home country. And he may yet. But he just has to sit and sweat for now.
All right, Kachi. Like I said, I don't think it'll be on the soft side. That's the way I would have played it. Just take your chances. It doesn't have to work out right, but at least you're giving yourself a chance not only to pocket the 2 a little cleaner, but get to the backside of this 3. And now he's really just kind of one shot away from victory, in my opinion. The 3's got enough angle to draw to the side rail, back out to the center for the 5 in the lower right. And the 5 does go by the 7 in the lower left as well. So some options. Kachi just needs to remind himself, do what he does best. Get down, hit the ball clean to the pocket. Now he's looking at maybe stunning past the side, 2 rails to the center of the table. Either are fine. A little preference. It'd be a little above center stun, not a really total stun. You don't want the cue ball kind of dying up table. You want it to release if he goes that route. I still like kind of the draw stroke, I think, but I know he's going to stun. Like I said, a little bit above center with the tip position. He's going to have some speed on it. Oh, this has got to slow down, Mike, or get a friendly bump of some sort. Ooh, a 5-9 to end this match. He's got to shoot. I mean, he could play the safety, but I think he's got to go here. And what he's looking at there with the cue stick is where to, do I have a comfortable way to run the cue ball, maybe behind the 7 somewhat, just in case I miss the combination. He doesn't want us to totally slow roll it and have the 9 over the pocket. These sides are brutal. It could hit, both kind of side rails there and stand up, so. It looks like it lays fairly natural. Play the 5 to the pocket. Kind of the 9 gets in the way.
And Joshua Filler lives on in this tournament.
Wow, and I wonder if Filler's going to take on this cross-side bank and just kind of squeeze the cue ball between the 8 and 9. And I thought he would make that, to be honest with you, and it didn't really threaten it too badly, really. Looked like the 5 kicked a little. Yeah, I like Josh taking a little extra time here on this 6 ball.
Joshua Filler led for most of the match. Twice he's fallen a rack behind. And both times he's levelled. We said early on this had all the look of a contest which was going to go the full distance, and that's exactly how it's turned out. Kachi had a go at the combination for the match. It didn't come off for him, and Joshua Filler has responded in ideal fashion. So just a quick moment to breathe and have a look at some other scores. 7-all now between Sebastian Barkowski and Jose Alberto Delgado. Marco Dorenberg 6-5 up on Nick Economopoulos. Sullivan Clark now 6-5 in front against Davy Pierre Giovanni. And Yanni Uski, who we saw almost beat Shane Van Bonen yesterday. And he's 3-1 up against Roman Hibbler. Best match of the tournament, Jeremy. It's got to be, when you consider the context and the names involved and everything that's gone on.
Yeah, it's been great. I don't want to see a golden break. I mentioned it earlier. I think it's going to happen with a 8-8 sometime. I'd like to see how this plays out. Very rarely in big moments are there break and runs. Hill. Seems like there's always a tactical battle, and I wouldn't mind seeing one myself right here.
Well, we had an epic tactical duel to start the match. It's almost 2 hours ago now. It's flown by. Here we go. One rack to decide it.
Well, this doesn't look like much of a tactical battle setup to me.
Oh, this is sweet.
Now the referee is going to have some time removing this rack with 3 settled on it. Don't know if Josh will even have the referee deal with it. Looks like that's where he wants to go with it.
Come on, please. Why?
Oh, this is getting heated.
I can do it myself.
I don't know what the problem is.
Well, I think what Desislava Bojalova is saying is the balls are touching. It's too difficult to remove the rack.
No, you can't remove it.
No, we're not cutting it. 7 is sitting on it.
Yeah.
It's frozen.
No way.
Really?
Remove it, yeah.
All right. Good luck to
Yeah, I think he's made the right call there, because ultimately she has to have the final say. And if he's not willing to accept that, he's only going to get inside his own head and get frustrated. So I think in the end, he made the right decision to just let that go.
Yeah, and, you know, when these balls get grouped together and they're touching, right, that's a very difficult, even with the equipment they have, they're very difficult to replace them exactly how they are when they're like this. Does this need to go a bit? This need to go a bit? Just barely gets position. Now, still a funny rack. If the 8 doesn't pass the 9 where the 4 lays, he's got to get really nice on the 7 to gain position on the 8 and maybe the opposite side. Yeah, doesn't it? I don't. That's a good look here. Let's see. Yeah, the 8's connected to the 9, so still a lot of drama in this rack left, in my opinion. Okay, Josh settling for a little distance for the proper angle. And again, needs to get kind of heavy on the 7. Doesn't want much cut on it at all. And that's exactly what the doctor ordered. The 8 does go on the right side.
Hasn't led since 6-5.
Now the good thing for Josh, if he buries his 8, and if he wants to have the rack moved, now she's going to go ahead and remove it. This is interesting.
You say it doesn't go, then I give you glass.
Kachi smiling, but he must be so disappointed that having given so much to this match, it looks as though he's going to get nothing in return. But what he can take away, Jeremy, is how well he's applied himself, how well he's performed, how well he's hung in there. And if he keeps going like that, he'll have some great days to come in the very near future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Michael. I mean, last week's finish, this week's competitive nature, and really great play. If he sticks to it, big events coming in 2022 still, and he'll reap the rewards of his efforts here of late. A lot of work with those templates. In certain situations, I think it's almost easier just to maybe cut the rack.
Thank you.
You know, it is a template. We have plenty of them, right? Maybe just snip, snip. Then it comes apart pretty easily.
It's been 2 hours of pure pool pleasure. A wonderful contest. Joshua Filler led 3-0. Eklent Kaci came charging back at him and got ahead late in the contest. All sorts of twists, all sorts of events late in the match. And in the end, Joshua Filler